Hello. So I've gotten a lot of requests to convert my T161 tracks that I used for the Bradley over to the Booker kit, the M10 Booker kit that just came out from Magic Factory. People are not wanting to build the tracks in the kit. I've looked over the tracks in the kit myself. I've got a kit here, and just to flash these under the camera quick, here's a big block of sprues with the track pads, and the track pads unfortunately are split, so you have to basically sandwich them together, and then you have to line them up with the center guide horns and the outer connectors, and then you have to run a metal pin through all of them. It's not a bad design overall, considering what Magic Factory give you. I'm going to pull this off for just a second and show you. So the way they've got this set up is you put the outer road wheel arm on. You have an inner piece that you can glue into this, but you want to keep them moving. They don't say it, at least I haven't found a spot where it says don't glue. But you don't want to glue them together so that these are movable. Then you create the suspension adjustment parts, and you get into it by hooking these up, gluing these into here and hooking them up. And if you do that, then you get to there is a right here, step 17, where you can go in with your finger and adjust the suspension up and down. Now, on the real vehicle, they have switched from torsion bars to hydro-pneumatic. And that means that both sides are now the same number of links. And the road wheel arms and all that, I mean, it's adjustable from inside. So in a way, if you want to do a diorama or show that off, it's pretty interesting. But in the modeling world now, I personally, I think of it as kind of gimmicky. When I build my kit, I'm going to build it in one position. Most likely in just the neutral position is what they give you. But anyways, I will get to that. So I want to go through this real quick, build this up, and then I'm going to do the tracks. But I thought, since I have to do this anyways, I might as well bring you guys all in on it, because I know you're all very excited to see how to build the Booker. So this is going to be step 1 through step 4-ish, and I'm only doing the right side or the passenger side of the lower hull. I'm not doing the whole vehicle. Sorry. This will at least get you going. I've got enough on my plate that I didn't want to add too much more to it. So what I've done is I've gone through and cleaned up the parts. They do leave a little bit of a marring look, but they're smooth. Put the little insert, and their vinyl inserts in there because they're sliding in and off. I'm just doing this for now. Normally, if I was going to do this for a regular build, I would paint the insides black and then glue them together, but I'm fairly confident that I'll be able to deal with it regardless, so I'm not worried about getting glue on it at this point. Just make sure, I don't think you can, but make sure you put an outside and an inside wheel together rather than 2 outsides or 2 insides, because then of course it's not going to work. I am doing this again so that I can put all the suspension together on the lower hull, and then I can adapt the tracks to the wheels really quick, or the kit really quick. That is one of the nice things about having done all the hard work before in designing the tracks, and why I really like CAD work and the 3D printing, is because I made the tracks. I took a lot of work to make those T161 tracks, and I did get, for those of you that are interested, I did get measurements from a fellow modeler later on, well after I had built the tracks and started printing them out and all. And according to those measurements, I was less than 1% incorrect in any direction, and I'm happy with that. I'm thrilled because I'm more of an amateur CAD designer than anything. And also it means that the product that I'm putting out, which fit the kits, is accurate. You know, I don't have to go back and tell people, hey, if you bought this before, you can turn it back in because this is now correct. I'm thrilled. Who wouldn't be? Finding out that all their hard work had paid off. So, that said, the road wheels here are done. And I will, as time goes on, take a look and see what differences eventually come out. Now, the important thing to note about this kit, and also with the bookers that are down at Fort Moore being tested out, is that this is all pre-production prototype, whatever. So they've delivered at least 5, possibly up to 14 M10 bookers to Fort Moore. I don't remember which unit. I've already put the little vinyl insert into the idler. Now I'm just going to glue this all together. So they've taken them there, and basically, you know, bit by bit in a methodical fashion, they are running them through all the drills with troops to see where things are working and not working, what's good, what's bad, what they can do to improve. So I think there'll be some changes in the booker. What I've noticed is, in all the pictures that I've been able to find, is the T161 tracks over the bolt heads on the outer face. And I will give you a visual here real quick. If I can get the track here. Okay, so here's a strip of track. Over the bolt heads, right here and here, there are little plates. My understanding of that is, as the bookers were going to be at Fort Moore and they didn't want them ripping up the training area, think asphalt and concrete, they put those on to protect the bolts and protect the road surfaces, I guess. The other thing I'm noticing as I'm putting the sprocket together is this is generally correct. These are, as far as I know, these are based on the same idler and sprocket from the Bradley for the T161, that they're modified. But if I can find one real quick, I don't see one. Sorry. I really don't see one. Well, doggone it all. Let me see if I can dig one out. I just wanted to compare and contrast so that people can tell the difference. Let me see if I've got one. I do. Okay, just a moment. So, that's not the correct one. So, I'm going to do this. It's not 100% correct. I'll let you guys see later on. So there is the sprocket. There's the idler right here. So there's a couple of things that I'm noticing, and I have to take a look at more pictures and see how it's going down with the idler, for example. Two things I noticed. One, the central hub is a little bit different. However, they're practically the same diameter. And two, the support arms are opposite, so they're not the same. This thing, when you put it together, they go together the same. I have to look and see if that's how that is. The second part with the sprocket, with first of all, they're identical again for depth. I do have the difference between the kind of the outer rim here, and the buildup band. This is an old sprocket that I found. But what I'm noticing is that these things are quite a bit thicker than the way that the size that I measured them out at. And they seem to have a reinforcing plate in here rather than that distance in there. So I don't think it's going to be a direct one-to-one. And they also have some reinforcing ridges around the teeth. These do not. So it's not going to be a one-to-one replacement with this. The kit part should be fine. I've already tested it with some of the track I've already got, and it works fine. Just wanted you to see that there is a difference between the Bradley parts that I made and the kit parts on the prototype Booker. That said, considering that the T161 track is what's being used right now, I wouldn't be surprised if in the future that it doesn't end up being that they share more parts. I could see this idler being twisted 45 degrees so that the arms aren't even but spaced. Maybe even just using the idler from the Bradley, and maybe even this ends up being more like the sprocket on the Bradley. Regardless, all the road wheels and such are done. So these just need to dry, and then I'll put them on. So the way that they're doing the haul, and like I said, I'm doing just this one side here, is you've got these attachment points for, I'm not even sure what they are, little round circular bits. And there's enough of an issue with them that they couldn't print them on. However, they just slide on. And by that I mean there's a little bit of a lip around the hole, but they just kind of dump right in. I mean, it's nice engineering. So I'm just gonna pool the glue in each one of the spots. And then just grab those in. Oops, did that upside down. Make sure you don't do it upside down. It should just be a little round bolt looking part on top, not the square part. The square part is the I don't remember what they call it now. It's the part that goes in the square hole. The key, I believe, is the right word, but anyway. Those are in. Now, the interesting part that I did think was pretty clever, considering what they want, is you put the road wheel arms on, and they will hit the stop right there like they're supposed to. And otherwise they rotate in whatever direction. So which way do you want to go with it? Now I'm doing this right here. So again, everything goes to the back like so. But flipping this over, like I said, you take this part, which is A22, and it's keyed, and there is a key on the inside of this, and you just slide that in and press fit it. And now you've got a working arm in here, and it's press fit pretty good, but if you want, you can glue it. The only danger is, of course, that you put glue, and I'll show you this on the outside without it being in there. If you put glue in and you put glue on this shaft and there's a little bit extra, it's going to run up in there and get up in and maybe mess up your build. You won't have that flexibility if that's something that you want. So at this point, just for this process, because I'm not starting to build this right away, and this is a little bit more of a pinch to get in because it's got there we go. because it has the part where you glue down that for the workable suspension. Okay, put that in there. Just pinch it together. It goes in tight. So in this case, if I wanted to have a working suspension for this hydro-pneumatic suspension and do all kinds of fun things like have it sitting on its, kneeling down, or other things, this is the kit for that. I mean, it's pretty nice in that regard for diorama builders or those that are going to show off what this suspension can do. But again, like I said, in my personal opinion, it's kind of gimmicky. It adds a lot of parts to a kit for something that's only going to be, sorry if I'm not getting this in there where you can see, something that's not generally going to be used. But they do have a solution for that too. If you give me just a moment here. The rest of the parts. So this gets us up through step 1 right there. Then you get into building the, I'm going to take these off the instructions. You get into building the control units, the suspension adjustment parts right there. Come over to this side. There's this. Well, what's neat is you want to have a static suspension. You're like, I don't want the gimmick. Then they have a part, and in this case it's F5 that goes on that side, and you have to make sure you get this on right and look at the instructions. But you put it with the hollow side towards the hull, and you put this in like so, and get each one of these road wheel arms to pop through, which does take a little bit of messing with it, but this will work. And it can be a little frustrating because things adjust. You hear it clicking, and that is just it responding to the bar being pushed. You need to kind of go down one way and it all was in. Okay, so there it's all connected in right there. The neat thing is, if I can do this carefully, is everything moves, but if you do it right, I did it wrong, the pegs on the bottom of this go right into the holes. So I have to take this off to get that to go in. So what I would do is, even with those in the back, get this in here, like so, in the front one. And you can only do so many at a time. I can see why they only did the 2. So I got the front one, the front peg in the hole, and the front suspension part in. Then I got the second one, and I just want to keep working my way back, because I'm going to have to, at some point in time, get that to slide into that hole. And that might take a little bit of convincing, just because of where it's at. Now, I suppose I could have tried to have come at it from underneath, but it takes some adjustment. And I'm not going to lie, this is not the easiest thing I've done. Again, this is the problem with the gimmicky suspension. And right now, part of the problem is that everything's out of alignment up front. And so you got to go through and adjust the arms to let you get into position. Yeah, and things might start falling apart. So it's difficult. There we go. Now I've got it in. Now I can just start adjusting these pieces into place. And you might have to come at it from this side. But I want you to see that, you know, it's possible to do this. It's not necessarily easy to do this. There we go. So I hope you saw how I did that. Basically you got to get those two pegs in, and then you just got to coerce. And I went at it with this on this side. And then make sure everything is tight. But now everything's in one spot. This is not glued in any way, shape, or form. There's a little bit of wiggle, but not a lot. You may want to keep that loose for what you want to do. Okay, so we've got this side's arms in. We're still letting these dry. Last but not least, we're going to step into part 4 or step 4, but not all of it. All I'm concerned about is dealing with the front final drive area right here and the idler position right there. And I do have these parts all prepped and ready to go. The only thing I need to get is one more vinyl. So inside of the sprocket mount final drive is, you need one more of these large rubber sleeves, and you need to have them in there because of the pins that get inserted, and to have a friction fit of some sort in there. So right here, put the part in as they wanted, and then this is just the cap to retain it. That's it. So you can just put some glue on it like so, maybe a little bit more. Once this is on, I don't want this popping off. There we go. Just make sure that's seated well. Yep, looks good. So that's ready to be put on. This will go on afterwards. So here's this. Grab my glue. The nice thing is that this all should be positive. This goes on like so. No muss, no fuss. That is glued. And you can see the cap is pressure fit by the hull. So that rubber, even if you didn't get all the glue on there perfectly or whatever, it should stay fit. But it ain't coming off either. So don't forget to put that in. And then putting on the cover for the final drive, like so. Fits right on there, no problem. Just got to make sure you get the glue in the right spot. I put some glue on there before, but now I'm putting this on to really let the capillary action pull it in. Anyway, just want to make sure everything lines up correctly. This isn't supposed to cover the edge. This is supposed to butt up against it. So it should look like there's a step in there. And then on this side, as can be seen in the instructions right here, this goes like so. And this gets glued on the back of, can't do it. I need another hand. So you can see the hole here gets glued onto here, and once it's glued on, you can glue that to the hull side. It doesn't really allow for adjustment, but, and we'll get to this in a minute, this goes back to why they designed the tracks the way they did. Let's just take this one step at a time. First, glue this on. I feel like I can't get any glue on my brush. There we go. Glue that to that. let that set for just a moment. Makes it a lot easier putting it on. Don't put too much glue on, because now I have done that. And then this goes on where the pin right here that the idler will connect to goes down, and there we go. The other portion of the swing arm goes into the hull. The important thing to note, again, I'm using capillary action once that's on to stick it together, is even though it looks like it should, this should not touch the hull. There should be just a sliver of room in there to help mimic the real thing, which is close to the hull but not completely on it. So there you go. That'll slide on there. Here, I'll do one for you. Slides on just like a Tamiya kit right there. This right here slides on just like a Tamiya kit. So I'm just going to put them all on and take a look at how it all looks. Again, remember, right now, that interior arm for the suspension and the suspension arms are not glued down. Nothing is. That's why there's that movement in there. And then finally, the idler. And this just got glued, so I got to be careful. Okay, that worked. So in the end, there you go. All this right here, no problem. And just grabbing some spares that I have. Let's see how this all looks. If I'm gonna use this track. Looks pretty good to me. Not seeing any problems with that. Goes around the sprocket without issue. Oh, as long as it's glued together. And with the idler, same thing. So it's time for me to get to work on adapting it, and that is putting together half of the suspension and all the ensuing work that goes with it. And I'll pick this up when I start building it and do some more step-by-steps.